Janis Joplin, the hidden life behind the legend. She wasn't just a singer. She was a storm. Janis Joplin became the raw, untamed voice of an entire generation, a woman who sang not just with her voice, but with her scars, her loneliness, and her hunger to be seen. Life on stage made her look fearless, but away from the spotlight, her world was fragile, emotional, and painfully human. Behind closed doors, in quiet hotel rooms and cluttered San Francisco apartments, Janis lived a life filled with love, heartbreak, addiction, and isolation. Her story is not just about fame, it's about longing, vulnerability, and a soul that burned too fast. Let's step inside the final chapters of her life. The night the music went silent. On the evening of October 4, 1970, Janis Joplin was found dead in her room at the Landmark Motor Hotel in Hollywood. She was only 27 years old. Her manager and close friend, John Cook, arrived that night after feeling something wasn't right. When he entered the room, he found Janis lying lifeless on the floor. At first, the scene was confusing. There were bottles of alcohol visible, but no clear evidence of drugs. Early reports were vague, and the details surrounding her death felt strangely incomplete. Years later, the truth became darker. According to later investigations and the testimony of Dr. Thomas Noguchi, the Los Angeles County coroner, narcotics had originally been present in the room, but had been removed by someone close to her in a panicked attempt to protect her reputation. Only later, when it became clear that an autopsy would reveal the truth, were the substances quietly returned. The cause of death was officially ruled as a heroin overdose, with alcohol likely making the effects even more deadly. Reports also revealed that the batch of heroin being sold in Los Angeles that weekend was unusually powerful. Several other people overdosed from the same supply. John Cook later said he believed Janis simply didn't know how strong the drug was. The verdict: accidental overdose. But emotionally, the story was far more complicated. The loneliness of her final days. In the final 48 hours of her life, Janis was surrounded by silence. She had expected two of the most important people in her life, Peggy Caserta and her fiancé Seth Morgan, to arrive and stay with her. Neither showed up. That rejection cut deeply. Friends described her as visibly hurt and withdrawn. By Saturday night, she instructed hotel staff to refuse all phone calls after midnight. It was as if she was shutting the world out. Peggy Caserta tried to reach her too late. Biographer Mayra Friedman noted that Janis made a phone call from Sunset Sound recorders that left her shaken and emotionally distraught in front of her colleagues. One friend later claimed Janis had suffered a head injury earlier that night after tripping on thick shag carpet. Whether that contributed to her death remains debated, but even Peggy admitted drugs and alcohol almost certainly played a role. After her passing, Janis was cremated, and her ashes were scattered over the Pacific Ocean, just as she had wished. The world lost a voice, not just loud, but painfully honest. Love that hurt as much as it healed. Janis Joplin loved fiercely. Her relationships were intense, emotional, and often destructive. She was drawn to deep connections but struggled with stability. Her known relationships with men included Peter DeBlanc, Country Joe McDonald, David Gurley Niehaus, Chris Christopherson, Seth Morgan, whom she planned to marry. Those relationships were fueled by passion and creativity, but also drugs, fame, and emotional chaos. But her love life wasn't limited to men. Early in San Francisco, she lived briefly with a woman named Jay Whitaker. Their relationship ended due to frustration over Janis's drug use and open sexual freedom. Perhaps the most complex relationship of all was with Peggy Caserta, a deep emotional and romantic bond that lasted years. They met in a small club in San Francisco, when Janis was still broke and unknown. Peggy even gave her free jeans when Janis couldn't afford them. Their bond evolved slowly, first friendship, then something deeper and more fragile. By Woodstock, both were using heroin. In her final month, an uncomfortable moment involving Seth Morgan and a planned encounter left Janis feeling rejected and alone. Her sexuality was bold and unapologetic. She once said she had been with thousands of men and hundreds of women, rejecting all labels. She wore feathers in her hair, scarves around her head, and proudly displayed tattoos, including a heart near her chest. She didn't dress to please anyone. She existed for herself. But beneath the bravado was pain. Biographers noted she struggled deeply with self-worth due to bullying and humiliation in her younger years. Her art came from that wound, and so did her demons. The homes that shaped her soul. Janis didn't just live in places, she breathed life into them. 122, Leon Street, her true San Francisco home. Her most verified home was apartment 3 at 122, Leon Street in San Francisco's Haight-Ashbury district. Official records, including her driver's license, confirm it. This apartment was a creative sanctuary, filled with music, visitors, late-night conversations, and unfinished lyrics. She sometimes shared this place with Country Joe McDonald, and the apartment became a meeting point for musicians and artists. It was messy. Alive. Real. 635 Ashbury, the mythic Victorian. Another frequently mentioned location is 635 Ashbury Street, a Victorian-style building often associated with her. While she didn't live there permanently, she stayed and visited frequently. Real estate listings today still market the building as part of her legacy, a physical symbol of the energy that defined that era. The confusion of 112, Leon Street. Many mistakenly believe she lived at 112, Leon Street, but records confirm that was never her official residence. The confusion came from storytelling, tour guides, and myths built over time. Even the San Francisco Chronicle later corrected this error. It shows how legends blur facts. Her final room. Her last physical space was room 105 at the landmark Motor Hotel, later renamed the Highland Gardens Hotel. Unlike her creative homes, this was a quiet, lonely place. 4 walls. A bed. A silence too heavy to escape. This wasn't a home, it was a waiting room between life and loss. That room is now part of music history. A legacy that refuses to die. Janis Joplin wasn't polished. She wasn't perfect. She was real. Her music still screams, cries, and bleeds through speakers worldwide. She lived loudly. She loved recklessly. She broke beautifully. And though her life ended in a quiet motel room, her voice still echoes, wild, free, and unforgettable.